These aren't the photos I planned to take. They weren't on my shot list, they weren't at sunrise, and they definitely weren't the reason I picked up my camera that day. But they've completely changed my photography, and once you start seeing them, you can't unsee them. I call them the moments in between. I wonder if this sounds familiar, because I think this is the case for a lot of photographers. Basically, for years, my photography looked like this. I'd work out when I could get out with my camera, and I'd hope that the weather conditions at that time would play into what I wanted. I'd plan for a sunrise or a sunset shoot, and I'd go to a location I'd researched or that I knew of or that I'd been before, and I'd try and execute a shot or a few different shots of that location. Every year I'd try and go on a photography trip to Iceland or Scotland or somewhere like that, and I'd spend 3 or 4, maybe 5 days traveling from location to location, basically going through the same process, trying to maximize my time there at the right times of day, in the right spots to get the photos that I thought I wanted. But all of the space between those shoots was a bit of a creative dead zone, and I didn't feel like photography was something that was happening habitually for me. There were times in that dead zone where I did pick up my camera, but it was never really with any sort of vision or intention. I used to think that photos like these didn't matter, but it turns out for me, they're kind of the whole point. If you only really pick up your camera when you've got a real shoot, then photography happens in bursts, and the rest of the time, beyond editing, it's kind of just nothing. Most photographers tell me that their number one struggle is time, and I completely get that. I'm a dad. I've got 2 kids, they're 6 and 9, and they take up the majority of my time. When they're not taking up my time, I'm either working or trying to sort the rest of my life out. The time I've got to spend doing photography for pleasure is really actually quite limited. And that limitation on time means that we try and plan in these shoots every so often, but because of the limit on time, we fail to build any real momentum with our photography, or that momentum just takes a long time to get going. It means it takes a long time to learn, and it takes a long time to improve as well. The failures that we get hurt all that more when we know that time is so precious. Any outdoor photographer will know how disappointing it is to get the only shoot you're able to do in 3 weeks and have a really underwhelming sunrise or sunset, or have some horrible weather system come through. When we only get out a handful of times a year, those failures really hurt. But equally, we need those failures to learn, but it makes learning so slow. I remember how frustrated I used to get with how little photography I seemed to do, even though I called myself a photographer. My hit rate over the year seemed so small, and the number of photos I've got in my Lightroom catalogue just back that up. If I was to go on 1 trip a year, it felt like I was putting a lot of my eggs in one basket, and something had to change. The real turning point for me happened in one of the least photogenic places you can imagine. It just wasn't a spot where any photography was supposed to happen. The Lightbulb moment came for me in Chile last year, and I've spoken about this trip before as my trip to Antarctica and Patagonia, an absolute trip of a lifetime. So why is this shot so important on this journey? We just arrived at Santiago, and there was so much anticipation for what we were going to experience over the next few weeks. The airport at Santiago looked interesting from an architectural point of view. The sun was high in the sky, there were some interesting shadows and people around, and I just wanted to have a bit of a wander, having been sat on a flight for 15 hours. I didn't anticipate that this would happen. I didn't anticipate that I would find these benches, but something about them really drew me in. It was the colours and the arrangement, and this is probably one of my favourite photos, and it wasn't supposed to happen. I took so much confidence from finding this image in an airport, and I carried on throughout the trip, seeing what I could find in places where I wasn't expecting to be able to take photos. None of these images were the point of the trip, but they're images that have stayed with me. They're images that when I think of the time in Chile that we had, These are the ones that come to mind. They're unique, they're different, and I feel like they've got a bit of me in them. You compare that to what we did go to Chile for, and whilst this is obviously an incredible sunrise, an amazing place, it's something I've seen before. It doesn't feel like me, it's not unique. And thinking about that experience afterwards made me realize that I'd thrown away half the potential of every trip I'd ever taken. I always shot in between these sunrises and sunsets on trips, but as I said before, there was no vision, there was no intention. And that, to me, has been the real discovery. I've taken this forward over the last year, and I've moved from photographing the moments in between on trips to shooting the moments in between everything. While I've been traveling, while I've been walking around my local town or city, everything seems now like a potential moment in between to me. And my decision to properly embrace having an everyday camera, a camera that is on me all the time, is key to actually maximizing these moments. I've spoken about everyday cameras before in video here, but if you can get a camera that you want to take everywhere with you, that is like a gateway drug to really exploring a different side of photography to maybe the side you're used to. The camera's not in my bag, it's around my neck, because if it's around my neck, I'm going to use it. Some of these moments are so fleeting that if I had to get my camera out of my bag, I've missed the shot. This means that I can not only get shots anywhere and everywhere, but I actually have. So how can you apply this to your photography practice? I've spoken about this before, but one of the most important things to do is learn to see, learn to observe, because that is what most of photography is. It's observing what's around you. That's something we all do when we're on these dedicated shoots. But do you actually do it in the rest of the moments in your life? As I've embraced this practice of trying to find shots anywhere and everywhere, it's had such a positive impact on my ability to see, and has massively improved my photography as a result of that. Just observe everything as you're walking around, and turn around and look behind you. The amount of times you don't see a shot when you're walking in a certain direction, you turn around and something just presents itself. Observing what's around you, what's going on, is one of the most rewarding things I've had from this. Be curious, take a different route. If you walk a certain route to work every day or something like that, go a different way. Go down a back street, go somewhere else, through a park. I did a really long walking challenge last year, and I found that by walking the major routes, you don't kind of see what's going on behind the scenes as such. Taking these back routes presents yourself with really unique things, and I think it's these unique things that make the most compelling photos. Also, you got to practice patience. This is probably going to suck for a while, and you just need to keep trying until it doesn't. Over time, you'll develop a bit more of an eye. You'll learn to observe more, as I've said, and your photos will get better. There's a whole 10,000 hour or 10,000 shot rule, whichever one you want to apply when it comes to photography, that the first 10,000 are your worst. If you are just dedicating yourself solely to going on shoots once a week, once a fortnight, something like that, it's going to take you so long to get to that 10,000 mark. If you're walking around with a camera every single day, you might not be capturing the landscapes that you want to capture, but you're going to get to that point so much quicker. Your eye is going to improve, your composition is going to improve, and your understanding of light is going to improve. This is a huge shortcut to improving your photography. As I've developed this as kind of what I like to do, I've now got a number of sort of projects and themes in mind with regard to what I look for when I'm walking around. This can be anything, but the things that have strangely captivated me are bus stops, as I may have mentioned, traffic cones, as I also may have mentioned, but you can also look for things like lone people, people in hats, different colors, like look for red things. It could be anything. As you do this more, you'll understand what you're drawn to, and you'll start looking for those elements in the everyday world. And as I've always said, have a true everyday camera, something that's small, something that's portable, something, most importantly, that you enjoy using, that's fun and you don't mind carrying. An A7R5 with a 50mm prime on the front is just going to be too heavy and cumbersome for you to want to take everywhere. So if you can, look for something smaller that you don't mind having around your neck for most of the day. On the note of projects and themes, if you want a bit of help in understanding what it is you should be shooting, I've got a free guide which is available to download below. This will lead you through some of your favorite shots from other people's, and it will provide you with some answers as to maybe what you should look for when you're out and about with your camera. If you downloaded this before, I'm also going to be following this up in the next few weeks with an extended guide that I'm hoping will really help you guys out, and that'll be going out to all my newsletter subscribers as well. The link for that's below too. This next bit is where everything I've just told you has come together for me, and it's a series of images that I shot just a few weeks ago, which are probably one of my favorite series of images I've ever shot. All of these shots happened because I stopped thinking that the journey was dead space. We were on our way back from a family holiday in France, and this was supposed to be a time where I just sat, had something to eat, read a book, entertained my kids. But I noticed what was going on around me and the photographic potential of that. The moments in between are everywhere, but you have to look for them. And once you do, photography stops being something you fit into your life and starts being part of everything you do. I'm really proud of these shots, and I'm on the fence. I might be tempted to make a small zine of these, but I've no idea if that's something that people would be interested in or not. If you are, please let me know below, because it'd be great to see if there is any scope for actually making something like that. These moments in between have become my photography now. I still love doing landscapes. I'm still going to plan to do landscapes, and I'm still going to plan to do trips that revolve around this, because I love being in the outdoors in environments like that. But I'm also going to be probably most excited about the moments in between that I find along the way, because they just give me so much joy. I have so much fun photographing this random shit that I see in the world. I'm not going to change that. I look for it everywhere. I feel like after years of trying so many different things, this genre that is almost inexplainable, this is what's been my photographic calling. And I'm just going to keep sharing stuff like this, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. It's freed me from those time constraints, because I can just get on with my life and take a camera with me. I know I'm not going to get something every day, but when I look at the amount of shots I've taken in the last year compared to the last few years, it's a massive change, and it's because of embracing this mantra and looking for these moments in between. I feel like if you only shoot those big moments, you're missing half the story. The best shots are sometimes hiding in between the ones you had planned. So go and find them. Hope that's been helpful. Thank you for watching. Download the guide and let me know below what's your favorite moment in between that I've shown you in this video. See you next time.